He accrued 6 interceptions during his tenure as the defensive back coach. So, I mean, that's not bad. But 2018, we had a 5-11 record. So, I mean, it wasn't like we did that great. Hey, welcome back, YouTube, to another mother and son post-season show for the New York Giants. In this one, we're going to be talking about our reactions to Joe Schoen being hired as GM and the potential head coaching positions that we have being offered to, 5 candidates, I believe. So, before we get into that, we have one thing that you need to do for us.
We need you to like and subscribe to our channel, especially if you are new to the channel and you want to stay apprised of what's going on. Now, hear our feedback of what's happening behind the scenes over at the Giants. We really want you to stay with us and subscribe. So please do that. Let's get into it.
All right, Giants fans, let's get into this. So, Joe Schoen was hired. And as you guys know from our last video, if you saw, we talked a little bit about him and what we think he will do for the Giants. And I thought he was the best candidate for the Giants. So I'm very happy that he is a part of the Giants. Mother, is there anything that you'd like to add to that before we get into the head coaching?
You know, I'm just a little bit concerned. He's made some early on references to looking forward to working with Daniel Jones. And, that could be a couple of different things. We recognize that Daniel Jones really hasn't had the system in place to make him successful. Let's just put that out there. And from a GM perspective, I think Schoen has enough skills and background to get the job done. Will he have the budget to get the players that he needs? Will he make the right decisions? I'm hoping that he won't be too enamored with the old roster. I wouldn't mind seeing somebody like Sterling Shepard be released. He hasn't, he's constantly hurt.
Period! You suck.
And I'm hoping that Joe Schoen could make those tough decisions and get some of the players that have been bogging us down from a salary cap wise, let those guys go and bring in some talent that can be developed. And I think that's what he's hoping to do. Let's hope that he'll be allowed to do that.
Yes, and I agree with you there. The first player that comes to mind in getting rid of him regarding cap salary, Kenny Galladay. I would love for him to leave. Too much money, not enough production, and quite frankly, I'm very disappointed with the trade and offer and move and everything that we did with him. So
it was a hot mess.
Yeah, so I agree with you there. Moving on, the real reason we wanted to make this podcast is because of a lot of head coaching opportunities here for these potential candidates we've got. We've got Brian Flores, Brian Daboll, Leslie Frazier, Lou Anarumo, and Dan Quinn. We're going to talk about each of these guys individually real quick. I'm going to put some facts down for you guys and let my mother analyze what I'm about to throw out here. So bear with me because it's a lot of information. I'm trying to say it as quickly as possible. We're going to start with Brian Flores. First of all, I'd like to note he is the youngest candidate out of everyone that is being interviewed or has already been interviewed at least once. And he coached with the Miami Dolphins for the past 2 seasons, I believe. His record wasn't the best. It wasn't the worst either. He basically was about 500. But he finished his first season with them. He finished 10-6, and this is the first time in the NFL when a team was on a 7-game losing streak, but then turned it around and went on a 7-game win streak. So he was able to finish on a strong note, and they finished 9-8 this year. Although they didn't get to the playoffs, they finished on a good note. So that was good. I respect him for that, keeping the guys motivated, playing through that, because that's really hard to do.
He still got fired though.
He did, but I mean that's what happens when you're on a franchise like the Miami Dolphins, who are looking for a right now change. Whereas with the New York Giants, we've been there, done that. We knew that the rebuild was going to be slow. It's just been extra delayed because of Dave Gettleman. but let's not talk about him. The past is in the past. I just had to mention him because, I mean, he is kind of the major hindrance in our franchise as of late. But when you look at Brian Flores' resume, it's pretty impressive regarding the circumstances that he has with the Miami Dolphins, a team, that's also in rebuild, and the pressure of being a head coach that needs to make change right now. I still think he did a decent job with that. I think the Miami Dolphins might regret this because, I mean, there was potential there, and they didn't trust the process like they were supposed to. But you know what? It's fine. One man's trash is potentially another man's treasure. That's how I feel about Brian Flores. I don't really have anything bad to say about him. So moving on, we've got Brian Daboll. Interestingly enough, Brian Daboll is the first of the coaches to get a second interview. He has won his second straight AFC East title with the Bills, albeit without Tom Brady in the AFC, with all due respect. He still won 2 straight AFC East titles, so that's good. And they just lost to the probably Super Bowl winning team, the Chiefs, last week. That was a very rough game in terms of for the Bills to swallow, because that was a hard pill to swallow. When you finished third in points per game at, 28.4, that's almost 30 points a game. And they finished fifth in yards per game with almost 400 yards a game. And then you add on the fact that he was a part of 5 rings with the Patriots. So the guy, and he was big deal in all of those. He had a decent role in terms of coaching in all of those rings. So, and not to mention, I believe he coached at the 17th season of the Alabama with Nick Saban, and they won a championship with him before he went to the NFL. So he won a ring coming to the NFL. So the guy has been there, and he knows what you need to do to win. And not to mention, he was the 2020 Assistant NFL Coach of the Year. So, and that was just 2 years ago. So
right.
That's great. That's a good resume if you ask me. We're going to move on to Dan Quinn, Cowboys coach. Now, I'm going to start off prefacing this. The last coach we got from the Cowboys, it didn't really end well for us. He actually didn't make it through the whole dang season. How about that?
I was about to say, it ended quicker than what he expected.
He didn't even make it through the whole season. I already am uncomfortable in analyzing this. I almost don't even want to entertain the idea of looking at a Dallas coach as our replacement. But I will just say this. The man coached one of the better defenses in the league this year. He's allowed the 7th lowest in terms of points per game. That's not that bad. You're in the top 10 of fewest points allowed. And they led the league in takeaways in terms of turnovers. So that's interceptions, fumbles. Let's talk about the bad. There's one more bad thing. He coached the Atlanta Falcons and was a part of that infamous 28-3 failed victory that should have been for the Falcons, but they choked it and gave it back to the Patriots. And while he was a head coach for the Falcons, he had a 43-42 record. Basically almost 500. So not a very great resume if you ask me. So I prefer him to not even get the job. I don't even think they should even offer him a second interview if they've already given him first. Now, you've got Lou Anarumo, the defensive coordinator for the Cincinnati Bengals. This guy, I actually did do a little research on him to find some information on him. And I didn't know that he coached the Giants in 2018 as the defensive back coach. Yeah, he was the 2018 coach for the defensive backs for the Giants with Landon Collins, Janoris Jenkins, and I forget the other 2 people. One of them is not even in the league anymore, I don't think. But they only amassed
there you go.
They accrued 6 interceptions during his tenure as the defensive back coach. So, I mean, that's not bad. But 2018, we had a 5-11 record. So, I mean, it wasn't like we did that great. Albeit the offense was atrocious by then anyway because the line was bad. But I'm not very confident in him as an option just because of that. I don't think that he's a good candidate either. So we've got 2 weak links in my opinion, Dan Quinn and Lou Anarumo. And then we're going to finish on a good note with Leslie Frazier. He has 2 roles. He's the defensive coordinator of the Buffalo Bills and he's the assistant head coach. So he has 2 roles. He's worked with Joe Schoen for 5 years. They already have an established relationship in terms of their working and how they work together and what they think. And I think his 23 years of NFL coaching experience and his head coaching experience when he was a Viking head coach, I think all of that, and if you look at his recent resume with the Bills, winning the AFC East twice in a row, I think his resume is great too. The issue is he's a little on the older side. Not that matters per se, but he is, I believe, the oldest candidate. He's 62 years of age, and I think Dan Quinn is 51. Lou Anarumo, I couldn't find his age without actually doing more research, so I didn't feel like bothering. But as far as I'm concerned, Dan Quinn and Leslie Frazier are the oldest prospects. And then you have the middle being Brian Daboll and Lou Anarumo. And then, of course, Brian Flores is the youngest. So there you have it, Giants fans. That is just a little brief history of each of the coaches. If you ask me, I think the best options are Brian Flores, Brian Daboll, and Leslie Frazier. And the 2 weak links would be Dan Quinn and Lou Anarumo. So, Mother, anything you'd like to add to that?
What I'm hoping is that there's a realistic look at what's possible. I always feel like they make decisions sometimes on gut feelings, and which their gut hasn't been all that great the last few seasons.
Right.
And I'm hoping they look at they have statisticians looking at the stats, evaluating them, and making a decision, based on actual abilities that have been seen in recent season on these other teams. Mm-hmm. Also, what type of coaching staff can these head coach candidates put together?
Well, you only can go up, I guess, from here. There's no really worse situation. You just have to see what they do. Either way, the only thing that would really disappoint me is seeing Dan Quinn or Lou Anarumo being picked. That's it. Honestly,
sadly,
that's it.
That could happen.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. We don't know yet. We can't just give Joe Schoen this kind of doubt yet. We have to see. He hasn't earned that yet, like Dave Gettleman's earned it. So for now, let's try to stay positive and just pray that everything falls in the right place. Expect to see a draft video in terms of mock draft. We might do a mock draft and think about who we think the Giants will pick, and also expect the Sun Rage compilation. I'm working on that too. I'm sure you guys want that. One. Yes, it is. I may even throw some moments where the mother rages as well, because she does have her moments.
I have my moments.
But that's it for now, everybody. We'll see you in our next video. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Make sure you like and subscribe. Please don't forget to do that, especially if you're new to this channel and you just started seeing our videos. Subscribe, please. Join the family. The size can only get bigger. We would love to have more family members part of this family bonding team. So please, do that for us. And make sure you share with your friends. It's very important. All right, guys. That's it for now. Take care.
Bye-bye.